You're watching CHCO-TV's gavel-to-gavel coverage of the June 16th, 2025 regular council meeting for the town of St. Andrews. I'm Florence Mitchell. In today's meeting, under Communications, Council will review the Fundy Community Foundation's 2024 annual report. Under Economic Development, Business and Culture, Councillors Hurdle and Weir will move that Council supports the St. Croix Chamber Orchestra with a $1,000 community assistance grant. Under Recreation and Environment, Councillors Gumashell and Blanchard will move that Council accepts the resignation of Helen Gurney-Smith from the Environmental Advisory Committee. Councillors Gumashell and Blanchard will also move that Council supports a partnership with Evergreen Canada to complete a study on alternative water sources for the community. Under Finance and Administration, Councillor Heenan will move that Council approves the purchase and sale agreement for 270 Queen Street with the Royal Canadian Legion Branch No. 8 Passamaquoddy. Councillor Heenan will also move that Council accepts the town's 2024 annual report. Additionally, Councillor Heenan will move that Council updates the appointment of Councillor Steve Neal as backup to Acting Mayor Akagi under the Local Governance Act. Finally, Councillor Heenan will move that Council accepts the resignation of Councillor Jamie Hurdle from Council. Now let's join Council at the W.C. O'Neill Arena Complex Council Chambers in St. Andrews.
All right, welcome to the Town of St. Andrews regular council meeting, Monday, June the 16th, 2025 at 6:30 p.m. at the W.C. O'Neill Arena Complex in Council Chambers. Welcome, Council and staff. Recording of attendance, everybody is here. I think Councillor Hurdle's going to join us online, so thank you. We are recognizing that we are on the Beskoto-Makati Nation. We are on the unceded traditional territory of the Beskoto-Makati people. Approval of the agenda. I need a mover and a seconder. Councillor Bennett and Councillor Blanchard. All those approve approval of the agenda, say aye. Contrary minded? So it's carried. Disclosure of conflict of interest. Seeing none, we'll go on. Presentations, there are no.
Just so you're aware, Councillor Hurdle has arrived.
Oh, thank you. Welcome, Councillor Hurdle. We don't have any minutes of the previous meeting. Communications, the Fundy Community Foundation 2024 annual report was submitted for our review. Thank you for all the good work that you have done in the past, and we look forward to the good work that you will do in the future. Thank you for the great report. Staff report? No, none this time. So we will go right into introduction, consideration, and passing of bylaws and motion. Oh, I forgot to do the thing that if they have a question, to email it to pnopper@townofstandrews.ca. Thank you. And now we will go into the introductions, consideration, and passing of bylaws and motions. Public Works, there is none. Economic Development, Business and Culture Committee, Councillors Hurdle and Ware. And it's on page 15. Councillor Ware.
Okay, this is a motion on the Community Assistance Grant, reference number EBC 250607, June 13th, 25. Community Assistance Grant request for the St. Croix Chamber Orchestra. The background information is the town of St. Andrews has received a request for funding under the Community Assistance Grants from the St. Croix Chamber Orchestra Please see the attached document for more details. The orchestra practices and performs throughout Charlotte County and Washington County, Maine. There are several performances occurring in St. Andrews with members also in the orchestra. They are seeking funding support for their practices and performances. The town currently has $8,350 remaining in the community assistance grant. With a support of $1,000, the town will have $7,350 remaining for 2024. Motion is as follows: that the council of the town of St. Andrews supports the St. Croix Chamber Orchestra with a community assistance grant for $1,000 for 2024. I so move.
Your worship, hold on, can you just make that 25? It should be 25.
Oh, I'm sorry,
My apologies.
25. I just read, I don't.
Thank you, Councilor Ware. Seconder, Councilor Bennett. Any further discussion, Council? Seeing none. Let's put a question. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Contrary minded? Carried.
Can I remind council to please use your microphones? Thank you.
That would be me. So, Councilor Ware, Councilor Bennett, and it was carried unanimously. Thank you very much. The next one is Recreation and Environmental Committee, Councilors Gumichelle and Blanchard, and I believe this is Councilor Blanchard's.
Yeah, thank you, Your Worship. So this is reference number RE250615. Excuse me. Resignation of Helen Gurney Smith from the Environmental Advisory Committee. Clear the frog. Okay, the background. The town of St. Andrews was notified that Helen Gurney Smith is resigning her position on the Environmental Advisory Committee. Over the last 3 years, she has been a dedicated volunteer and helping to develop programs associated with Earthfest, beach cleanup kits, providing insight on topics from a biologist's standpoint, and overall supporting the endeavors of enhancing our community through the Environmental Advisory Committee efforts. Mrs. Gurney Smith should be commended for her efforts for the community, and we thank her for her time on the Environmental Advisory Committee. And the motion before council is that the council of the town of St. Andrews accepts the resignation of Helen Gurney Smith from the Environmental Advisory Committee, and I so move.
Thank you. A seconder? Councilor Heenan. Any further comments? Thank you very much, Helen, for your work and dedication and volunteering on this wonderful committee, and all the work that you did on Earthfest too was fantastic. Any other comments? If not, all those in favor, say aye. Aye. Contrary minded? Carried unanimously. All right, moving right along. So, number 2 of that is the Evergreen Canada Crisis Program. Councillor Blanchard, oh, yes, it is you, Councillor Blanchard. Thank you. Two
Okay,
environments.
sure, I'll take them. All right, reference number RE250616. Subject is Evergreen Canada CRIS Program for Alternative Water Source Study. The background is Evergreen Canada is a nonprofit organization that aims to work with municipalities and link them up with funding and experts to study climate adaptation, climate mitigation, and resilience programs. The town has been in discussions with them on their CRIS program, or CRIS program. This is a no-cost program to the town and would link the town up with experts for environmental studies. One study the town has been seeking to accomplish is an alternative water source study. This would help the town to understand options for freshwater alternatives in the event that there are issues with Shamcook Lake. This has been a priority under the municipal plan and from the Environmental Advisory Committee to have reviewed and studied. So the motion before council is that the council of the town of St. Andrews support a partnership with Evergreen Canada to complete a study on alternative water sources for the community, and I so move.
Thank you, Councillor Blanchard. We need a seconder. Councillor Harlan. Thank you. Any further discussion, council? Seeing none. Let's move to the question. All those in favor? Aye. Contrary minded? Carried unanimously. Thank you, council. Thank you, Councillor Blanchard. We now move on to Planning and Community Development Committee, but there are none. So we are on to Finance and Administration Committee. Councillor Heenan, you have a few.
Thank you, Your Worship. Good evening. Reference number FA 250634, the purchase and sale agreement for 270 Queen Street, the Legion lot. The Town of St. Andrews and the Royal Canadian Legion Branch 8, Passamaquoddy, St. Andrews, New Brunswick, have come to an agreement on the purchase and sale of 270 Queen Street. The agreement outlines purchase of 270 Queen Street from the Legion to the town for $80,000. Free use of space for meetings at an agreed-upon location between the parties. Free storage space for the Legion. A plaque placed at 270 Queen Street noting the former Legion space. This agreement outlines the above information and is mutually beneficial to the town and the Legion. The Legion will now have a long-term home and the town will benefit from additional parking close to downtown. In future discussions with council, staff will bring forward a proposal to enhance the lot for additional parking. The motion before us is that the Council of the Town of St. Andrews approves the purchase and sale agreement of 270 Queen Street with the Royal Canadian Legion Branch 8, Passamaquoddy. And Your Worship, I so move.
Thank you, Councillor Heenan, seconded by Councillor Gumashall. Any further discussion, council? Councillor Weir.
Yes, just a quick question. I guess we're buying this without a environmental study of any type. I was just wondering if at any time there had been an adjacent business property or anything that contaminants could have leached into this particular property.
Mr. Spear?
Well, to the best of my knowledge, no. We'd have to do a little bit more digging to look at the history of them, but the location was a fire hall prior to the Legion, and to my knowledge, probably the deputy mayor would know better than I if there's adjoining businesses, but I don't think there was. I think
There
it was
never
a
were.
residential.
There never was any adjoining businesses there at the Legion. There was just the fire hall, and then it was turned over to the Legion.
But we can do a follow-up assessment that this is the town approving. Purchasing it. The Legion has to go through their process and legal and all that, so we're just at the start. But if we find anything of concern, we can follow up with council.
And I think this is great because we do need parking downtown. This will give us a few more parking spots, especially with Canada Day fast approaching. Any other comments, council? If not, we'll move for the question. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye, Your
Contrary
Worship.
minded? Carried unanimously. Okay. Just gotta flip over.
All set.
Okay, Councillor Heenan?
Thank you, Your Worship. FA 250638, 2024, Town of St. Andrews Annual Report. As per the Local Governments Act, Section 105, all municipalities have to develop an annual report of council and financial statements of the town. This document will be available for public to access online and at the town hall. Provided with this report is a copy of the Town of St. Andrews 2024 Annual Report. The document highlights introduction and community profile, Municipal Council of 2024, review of councilors' attendance at regular and special council meetings, review of closed session meetings of council, grants issued by the Town of St. Andrews, municipal corporation information and municipal salary ranges, audited financial statements from 2024, all motions of council from 2024. The action and the motion before us is that the Council of the Town of St. Andrews accepts the 2024 Town of St. Andrews Annual Report, and Your Worship, I so move.
Thank you, Councillor Heenan. Seconder, Councillor Neal. Any further discussion? Councillor Bennett.
Thank you, Your Worship and Council and staff. If you go to page 32 in the attendance record under Councillor Blanchard, there's a clerical error there. It says there's 7 virtual meetings, but if you do the math, if you count it, there's actually 8. So that's just one slate error. And also under the financial audit statements, I'd like it be brought to everybody's attention that we do not have an audited financial statement for the money that was given to Explore St. Andrews from the town.
I'm sorry.
That is not something that we've been provided yet. There has not been an audit on Explore St. Andrews and the hundreds of thousands of dollars that we gave them in this last year. And it's something that I'd still really like to see. So thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Bennett. Any further discussion? Oh, Councillor Harlan, sorry.
Thank you. So, question for Mr. Spear, would it be traditional practice to have an audited statement from an organization like Explore? Or because I'm aware that audited statements are very expensive, and there's another process that can be taken in place of a full audited statement, but a reconciliation or?
Yeah, so there's 3 levels of statements. There's an audit, which is the most. There's a review, which is halfway between an audit and the lowest, which slipped my mind, but the lowest is where the records are just provided to an accountant who puts it in traditional format. Most auditors in the first year of a business can't do an audit, and we do have the statements. The actual operations at Explore St. Andrews were included in these statements to a certain extent. Remember, they're consolidated, and so that's somewhat included. But they did provide us, and I apologize if I didn't forward them. I thought I'd forward them after last meeting, but I had gotten a copy from Explore St. Andrews in order to finish the statements, or finish the audited statements for the town. So I have those, and I'll circulate those tomorrow morning. I just made a note, I thought, before I went away, that I had already sent those out.
So thank you, Councillor Bennett.
Thank you for that information, Mr. Spears. I would like to say in 2023, when we first got on council, shortly after the 3 people from the ward, 3 councillors from the ward joined, we had a year-end review from the previous year from Explore St. Andrews, and we had a wonderful audit that was presented to us, and it was clear and concise. It was easy to see where the money went, and it balanced out. And what we got, and from the last meeting, what was added to our finances from the town wasn't an audit. It was just clearly, I'm not sure what the official word is, but it's just a statement of here's how much money there was. And this has nothing to do with where the money was spent or how much was spent or where the money is today. So that's something that I think, especially with the consideration that we're talking almost $500,000 that was town money, that I think that this council and the people of St. Andrews deserve to know where the money is being spent. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Spear, sorry.
No, as Councillor Bennett, there's been 2 reports, and they have their own internal report, but maybe you guys have seen a copy of, but they do have a CPA-created report with all the trial balances and stuff that was used to do our own financial statements. So there is that. So that's what I said. I'll forward that to you. That's a lot more concise than what they had previously. It should also be noted, just we had talked about at the time of the bylaw prior to the local government reform of asking for audited statements, and the council of the day decided that wasn't needed. So they are providing them on goodwill, and it's a good thing to have. I'm not disputing that, but it isn't a requirement of the operating agreement at this point in time between them and the town of St. Andrews. So we're grateful that they do provide that information, and I understand your concern, but it's something that has been addressed earlier and wasn't necessarily required by previous councils, and that maybe if we review the bylaw in the future, we might ask that of any future operators.
And Your Worship, just for clarification, the town brought in, with the levy, 550,000 or 560,000, to note that Explore St. Andrews received about 300,000 of that over the previous year. So, just for clarification.
Thank you very much, Mr. Spear. Mr. Knopper. Councillor Weir?
Yes, I'll just add a comment. I think it was a compilation, last statement I saw on Explore St. Andrews. But our auditors, Teed Saunders Doyle, in issuing the consolidated statements and giving us a unqualified opinion, had to have satisfied themselves somehow that the financial statements of Explore St. Andrews came within their materiality limits for the entire town. Now, I'm into the jargon, I know, but for the town, they will say, you know, as long as we're 95% sure there's not an error over $100,000, we're happy. And so they suddenly take a very small set of statements, only $500,000, and they apply a materiality limit, which is extremely high in relation to those statements, to include them in the town statements. So it, like I say, it's the simplest thing is to have an audit, then they don't have to go through that process. And if I had known when the audit report was being presented, the first time I questioned Explore St. Andrews, and then when it was included, I didn't have a chance to go through the thought process of asking the auditors if they did in fact go through and do sufficient audit work on Explore St. Andrews that they could still issue an unqualified audit report. I have to assume they did, you know, professional courtesy. I have to assume that. And but that's basically how it works when you get these little subsidiaries. You know, you may not have to do much more than just look and make sure you get a set of statements and say, oh yeah, that's good enough in the big picture. But the little statements could be serious errors in them, but they're not big enough to warrant any more work. So it's not very clear for someone that's not in the auditing profession. Not that I am anymore, but used to be. But.
Thank you, Councillor Weir. Any other comments? Oh, Councillor Harlan?
So just for Mr. Spear, do we have any other organization where this would be in a similar situation?
Not to that size. So the Ross Memorial Library Board is independent of the town, appointed by the town, but we actually do their accounting for them, like separately from the town's records. And so we can provide the auditors with any detail, but it's, you know, only about 10% of the size of Explore St. Andrews. So that's not a problem. But even to go back, just as a reminder to council, to Explore St. Andrews, well, it's a lot of money. They don't have a lot of transactions. The transactions tend to be big. So even if they got their bank statement for the year, they could probably go through each individual one for them. I know they requested me to ask for some information, which Explore St. Andrews was glad to provide them to get it all through. So yes, it's probably a compilation, especially in the first year. But again, there's just so few transactions, especially in 2024, because a third of the year the town actually was the bookkeeper for them. And by the time they hired their full-time member and got the new board in place, basically the primary thing they did was grants to community organizations and then did some marketing things on top. And so there wasn't a whole bunch of transactions to go through as opposed to the town where we'd have, you know, 30 or 40,000 separate transactions. they would have dozens.
Right. And it was a compilation report that I was trying to come up with,
Yeah.
that term. Because in some circumstances, in some situations, organizations agree that a compilation report for sort of a foundation or a separate committee from an organization, that would be fine, given the cost of a full audit report. So from your perspective, what would your recommendation be to this council in terms of what to expect, what we could reasonably expect from Explore?
That would be between you and Explore. I don't have experience as an auditor. But again, back to with Mr. Knopper and I on the board, we see most of the expenses on a month-by-month basis. But you'd have to negotiate if you want an upper level with a higher level of review. With Explore St. Andrews, I'm comfortable with what they provide, but in it day by day, and I see where their expenses go. There's not a lot of room for mismanagement at that level. Their internal controls are pretty strong. But if you want to go up the next level or two, you'd have to negotiate that with them. But as I said earlier, the operating agreement that we have with them doesn't require that, or the bylaw, whatever we are using.
And you said that the council of the day, so not this amalgamated council or the council prior to the amalgamation, no one sitting at this table had made the decision that audited statements were required in situations like this?
It was brought up by staff. Mm-hmm. That it'd be a good idea, usually is, but it was decided not to proceed down that route.
Councillor Bennett?
Thank you again, Your Worship. CAO, can you explain all the money that town deals with, all the money that comes in and goes out has got to be accounted for and it's got to be audited every year, right? And that $350,000 that Explore St. Andrews got last year, that came from us. That was taxpayers' money that was given to Explore St. Andrews. And by defunct, the fact that that's not being audited, then all the money from town is not being audited. So it seems like there's an awful lapse in accountability, especially on something as huge as $350,000. So my only point is that for the town to have audited all of our money and not be able to have the Explore St. Andrews money audited, it means that, in fact, we do not have a complete audit. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Bennett. Councillor Weir?
Yes, and again, I'll come back to the size of the two organizations. Our auditors have issued an unqualified audit report. That's telling me that they did enough audit procedures on Explore St. Andrews to issue an opinion that was consistent with the size of the town. Certainly couldn't issue an opinion on Explore St. Andrews. It's too small, requires much more detail to issue an opinion on it. So without asking them directly, which I guess I would have at the time, but statements changed from one presentation to another, to find out exactly what they did do as audit procedures. But the fact that they were willing to sign the auditor's report tells me they did something to get that much assurance. That much assurance would not be enough for them to sign an audit report on Explore St. Andrews. They just wouldn't look at enough transactions, they wouldn't do enough testing, all kinds of reasons. But it's hard to explain, but this materiality, you know, every auditor is willing to live with an error, not willing to live with it, willing to take the risk that an error exists. And we have two scientists here, they understand that. And they cover off that risk other ways with professional judgment and all that type of thing. So if we want an audit on Explore St. Andrews specifically, that we audit those numbers using an appropriate materiality limit for those numbers, which would be very low, we would have to have separate financial statements. It's the normal way to go when doing consolidated statements, but it's not mandatory. So, but I understand Councillor Bennett's question. No, we don't have an audit on Explore St. Andrews as a separate individual entity, only as it fits into the big picture.
Thank you, Councillor Weir. Councillor Blanchard?
Just quickly, just on something that Councillor Bennett had mentioned there, I just wanted to be careful that we don't conflate taxpayer dollars for the citizens of St. Andrews to the tourism accommodation levy. That money is generated from visitors to St. Andrews through a tax, so it's not specifically taxpayer dollars we're talking about. It's revenue to the town, but not specifically taxpayer dollars. So I'm comfortable with what Councillor Weir has said in terms of what our auditors have done, recognizing that it hasn't been done with specifically with Explore St. Andrews, but I just wanted to make that clarification point there. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Blanchard. Any further discussion? All right, let's go for the question. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Contrary minded? Carried. Okay. And the next one, Councillor Heenan, page 86, I believe.
Yes, thank you very much, Your Worship. This is FA 250628, appointment of Councillor Neal to backup Deputy Mayor for the town of St. Andrews. Councillor Neal was appointed at the last regular council meeting to backup member to acting Mayor Kate Akagi. Staff needed to add an additional appointment process under the Local Governments Act, Section 48(5) to the motion. In the absence of the deputy mayor or the inability of the deputy mayor to act under subsection 4, council shall appoint a councillor to act in the place of the mayor, and while so acting, the councillor appointed possesses the power and shall perform the duties of the mayor. And the action and the motion is that the Council of the Town of St. Andrews update the appointment of Councillor Steve Neal as backup to acting Mayor Akagi for the Town of St. Andrews under Local Governments Act, Section 48(5). And I so move this, Your Worship.
Thank you, Councillor Heenan. Seconder, Councillor Blanchard. Just by a hair. Any further discussion, Council? Councillor Harland.
Can I just have some clarification, Mr. Spear and Mr. Knopper, in terms of titles? So we call, because I'm stumbling all over the place. So what do we call?
So under the Local Governance Act, Deputy Mayor Akagi is still technically Deputy Mayor. In an elected official role, the mayor is elected by the public.
Right.
Deputy Mayor Akagi is now appointed essentially acting mayor. So under the Local Governance Act, it's about fulfilling the role of the mayor while still holding the position of deputy mayor. So she's still acting mayor. You can present her as that, and we asked the province about that. But her official title role in the local governance system is still deputy mayor. But anytime you fulfill the role of mayor, you are acting mayor.
Okay.
So right now, she is technically acting mayor, still holding the title deputy mayor. In relevance to the deputy mayor, you can only have one deputy mayor. So you still have a deputy mayor in Akagi, but Councillor Neal will now back up Deputy Mayor Akagi, acting mayor, so he's still councillor as a title. But in the event acting Mayor Akagi cannot attend or fulfill the roles of acting mayor, Councillor Neal would then step into the role as acting mayor. So it's basically passing, you still hold Deputy Mayor Akagi and you still hold Councillor Neal. The only difference is when somebody is acting mayor, you retain the role of acting mayor. And that was where the section 48(5) comes in. So a little confusing, but basically anybody who's filling the role of acting mayor will take the acting mayor title. It's because it's an elected position, not an appointed position, as per the local governance commission. I think I got that.
Do I have to continually say that, correct them? I'm acting mayor, not mayor?
You just call yourself deputy mayor.
I should call myself deputy
mayor.
Okay.
The way the act reads is that once the mayor is indisposed, you assume all the powers of the mayor role.
Okay, thank you very much.
So around this table,
Deputy mayor acting.
Deputy mayor.
Deputy Mayor acting. So, okay. Great. Thank you.
Thank you for clarifying that. Any other discussion, council? Then we'll go for the vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Contrary minded? Carried unanimously. Okay. Moving right along, Councillor Heenan.
Well, this is a tough one, but anyway. FA 250635, resignation of Jamie Hurdle, councillor for the town of St. Andrews. The clerk was notified on Friday, May the 30th, 2025, that Councillor Jamie Hurdle would be resigning his seat on the Town of St. Andrews Council effective June the 16th, 2025, as per Local Governance Act. Section 50, bracket 1, a vacancy results in a council when B, a member resigns from office. Section 51, bracket 1, council shall by resolution declare the seat vacant. Section 58, bracket 13, a member of council may resign the member's office by filing with the clerk a resignation in writing. There will be no by-election to fill the seat, as there will be a full general election in May of 2026. The vacancy will be filled at that time. We would like to thank Councillor Jamie Hurdle for his service as a member of council for the town of St. Andrews. And the action is that the council of the town of St. Andrews accepts the resignation of the office of Councillor Jamie Hurdle from the town of St. Andrews Council as of today, June the 16th, 2025. I so move.
Thank you, Councillor Heenan. Seconder? Councillor Bennett. Who? Go, Michelle. Thank you. Yeah. Well, any other discussion before we go to the vote?
Hold on.
Oh.
Deputy Mayor, Councillor Hurdle, would you like to say anything?
Yeah, would you like to say anything, Councillor Hurdle? Ex-Councillor Hurdle?
Well, yeah.
Soon to be
obviously,
ex-councillor.
Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes.
No, I just see myself in double. Of course, I'm losing my voice at the same time. I had a whole speech written up and everything, but I figured I'd garbage that, just speak from the heart, because I think you guys have heard me go on long enough over the last 4 years. I just very briefly, obviously this was an extraordinarily difficult decision for me to make. For those of you that know me, and I know that all of you do, St. Andrews is always going to be my home, and the honor that I felt in being able to serve the community for the last 4 years, the privilege is never going to be lost on me. And making the decision to step away, obviously, is something that unfortunately a lot of people have to face, and it's the decision of whether to follow your career. And I have a lot more sympathy for my own father, who faced the similar decision when he was around my age as well, and of course had to follow his career out of town. But I came back, and you never know what the future is going to hold. You know, retirement's not that far away for me, so you never know what the future is going to look like. So just briefly, I just wanted to look around the table, even though I can only see myself right now, and just say thank you. There, I can see everybody now. Yeah. I consider you all at this table family, and now I know what the mayor was going on about, but I really do. And for those of you that may not think that I feel that way about you, know that I do. I consider that you all my friends. I consider you all respected colleagues, and I can't say enough about the influence you've all had on me over the last 4 years, and what you've opened me up to over the last 4 years as well. And just again, my ability to speak for the community, speak for my neighbors, has been so extraordinary. So I just wanted to say thank you all for the last 4 years. And like family, I hope you all stay in touch. I can't wait to see what you'll do with the rest of council. But just thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Herter. You're certainly going to be missed, and we really appreciated you being on council with us. We enjoyed your points of view and what you chose to do with us. It was great. So thank you for all your service and being on our council.
Your acting
Councillor.
deputy worship. Your acting deputy worship.
Councillor Michelle.
Thank you. Just quickly, I want to thank Councillor Hurtle, Jamie, for giving so many hours of his free time over the past 4 years in service of his community. A hometown boy, he brought fresh perspectives from Toronto in a helpful way, and always spoke with integrity, honesty, and empathy. It has been an honor to serve with him this past 4 years. I'm very sorry to be losing you to Halifax, but they are gaining a strong community volunteer and voice. So thank you, Jamie.
For sure, Jamie. All right. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Contrary-minded? Good luck in your next venture, Mr. Councillor Hurtle. Yeah, Mr. Hurtle now. I'll never get used to those titles. Mr. Hurtle. All right. So that brings us to new business. There is none. Question period. Mr. Topper, is there anybody online that has a question?
I'll just ask for those that are online tonight, if you have a question for council on tonight's agenda, please raise your hand. Last call, please raise your hand for that is online. Going to say no, and I've received no emails as well.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Nopper. Anybody in the audience have any questions or comments? Well, that's done. Councillor and Deputy Mayor's comments. Councillor Weir.
If you can bear with me, I got a few things here.
Okay.
Firstly, the little speech that our former mayor gave at the last meeting, there was one item which I think may have treated one of our local citizens, I'm not saying unfairly, but I don't know what the word is. But reference was made to a drawing that was published in January 2024 by Vicky Hogarth. And that was almost a year and a half ago. And I think in a year and a half, that drawing probably became obsolete. And I just feel we got to be careful when we put those things out there, that we don't say something that's obsolete or whatever. It just didn't seem to sit right with me then. But the second item was this community development arm of the Regional Service Commission. Read the article or read the commentary. Again, I didn't like the tone of it. I don't think we should ever say that we're stepping away from poverty. I think poverty's something we live with, particularly in a tourism town. Tourism creates poverty. Unfortunately, that's a fact. It pays minimum wage, so that's a side factor of that industry that people don't recognize. And I addressed caucus one time on it, provincial government, and they said, we really realize it 100%, but we need that GST. So, it was at that time $250 million it was bringing into the province. So for this town to just say we're not responsible for poverty, I think it should be in the back of our minds. We don't have to be proactive out there beating the drum and with respect to poverty and everything, but we should never shy away from doing everything that we can to eliminate poverty. So that was just my reaction, because it said, you know, council and staff don't want to do anything with respect to housing, transportation, and more inclusiveness. Well, I think we should do everything we can within our financial resources. That was the second thing. Third thing that I had on my list here was our fiscal responsibility as we go through this year. We have many meetings, working sessions where it seems to me, all we're looking for is new ways to spend money. We never have one on how do we save money. And in the last 2 to 3 weeks, OECD, which is the Organization of Economic Cooperation and Development, which is comprised of over 100 countries, has predicted that we will go into a recession, and has predicted that Canada will be hit harder than most other countries because of our proximity to the United States. So I think that has to be in the back of our mind as we do our planning for the remainder of the year. The World Bank come out last week, said, and they didn't talk about world GDP was going to go down, but they specifically mentioned Canada, that we were going to go down 0.2 to 0.3 every year. And they didn't give for how long, but so the World Bank knows we're in trouble too. And again, because of our proximity. And the third thing that's happened in the last week is with Iran and Israel starting to engage in warfare, Iran is threatening to close off the Persian Gulf. And I don't know how many people realize that 20% of the world's oil comes through that little cut. And so they could, in theory, cut off 20% of the world's oil and 25% of the world's LNG. So, you know, we're in a situation, I think, as a council, we can't live in isolation. We're in this world, we're in this country, and we got to accept our responsibilities. That's all I wanted to say. It bothers me tremendously. I know it won't affect probably anybody at this table substantially, but it'll affect a lot of people in this community. And again, we're back to the low-wage earners, if they're lucky enough to have a job, as if we go into a recession. Most of us, we're at the age or have a position where we're a bit recession-proof. So just something I wanted to say, something we should have in the back of our minds and constantly be aware of it until heaven knows how long we're going to be in this position. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Ware. Councillor Harland?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Akaji. Daryl, Councillor Weir, could I just have you clarify for me where the statement came from the RSC? I think I missed something.
Oh, it was in an email that Mr. Spears sent out on June the 6th.
Okay. And it was regarding the RSC?
Well, the RSC evidently was out
It was,
pounding the bushes for money.
well, they were just updating the community, so the community development portfolio had a meeting on the 5th, I think it was. Yeah, day before I left, and where they invited councils to come see what their work to date was, talking about this. And primarily the role of that, particularly the community development, is reduction of poverty and housing. So it's just kind of seeing how they aligned their goals with those of the province.
Thank you,
Thank
Councillor
you.
Spear. Thank you, Councillor Harlan. Anybody else? Oh, then it's my turn. First of all, I'd like to remind everybody that graduation for SJDA will be this Thursday at 11 a.m., so I'm looking forward to it. My great niece is graduating, so I'm very honored to be able to attend. I will be attending on behalf of the council. And NBCC, their graduation is on the following Monday, on June 23rd at 11 a.m. So our NBCC will be graduating, and we've done a lot of things with NBCC, and I have done a lot of things with Indigenously, so I will be there again representing the town council and the community. So I just wanted to mention those two things and say thank you, council, for support tonight. And we have a closed session, and so I will ask Mr. Knopper to read what it entails.
So council at 7:20 PM, council moves into closed session per the Local Governance Act, Section 61J, labor and employment matters, including the negotiation of collective agreements.
And so I need a mover, Councillor Heenan, and seconder, Councillor Neal. All those in favor to go into closed session, say aye. Aye. Contrary minded? So we're into closed session as soon as we can clear out a few people. And thank you, CHCO-TV, for taping this and doing the work. Thanks, Flo, for being in the background.